Hey everybody, and welcome to another Project Egg interview. Today we're going to be talking to Dan Davidson from Marion, Ohio. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
All right, well, let's jump in. So, Dan, my first question for you is, what is your story?
Well, my story, I guess, for entrepreneurial begins about a couple years ago. Um, so um, I was working at Honda Research and Development, and it was a very stressful job. I was always really busy and crazy schedules. It's like the Japanese mindset of your work is your life and you're going to do that till like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I was reading an article about drones and the potential uses that it's going to have in the future. And so I started delving into that, and I came up with the idea of like a local drone services around Ohio, and came up with aerial photography and farm surveying. And so I mentioned it to my brother, I'm an electrical engineer by trade, so I'm somewhat familiar with drones, unmanned vehicles, and electrical systems. And he is a computer engineer, so he can do data processing with the farm surveying. You can do some really advanced uh, uh, post processing techniques to figure out the health of crops and things like that. And so, and that's like half the cost of doing farm surveying. So we could do that all in house and save a ton of money and undercut any competition. And so we got that kicked off. And I actually, at this time, was doing really well in the stock market. I had a condo I was renting out for about 450 a month. I ended up selling that. I took a pretty big loss on it, but I was doing so well in the stock market. I was like, I can make this up really quickly. And I also had a truck which I sold, um, and took a huge loss on that. So I ended up with like, after everything, I ended up with about $30,000, and within 6 months, I had turned it into about $110,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it was, but unfortunately, it was just too much money too quick. My ego was really built up, and I was like, "Oh, I can make $1 million easy," and I got way too excited, and I leveraged my money and ended up losing all of it within 5 days. And
Jeez.
I was gonna self fund the drone company and buy all the drones and everything, which I was still able to buy one smaller drone, but the farm surveying one was $10,000, so I definitely couldn't afford that. And we went to an agriculture conference, and there we found someone who was already in the field. He sells like he kind of sells as a wholesaler crops, and he asked if we needed an investor. We had such a good presentation and impressed him with it. So we were able to get an investment for $25,000 for 25% in the company, and so that has been carrying us, and it's doing pretty well. It's taken us a little while to get started because FAA regulations are really stringent, and they just changed it. So now you only have to take a pilot's test, unmanned pilot's test. It's not that difficult. You just have to pay $150. So it's a lot easier now, and we have our first paid job coming up in, I think, a week and a half. So it'll
Congratulations.
be nice to actually be making organic money. And um, then about 3 or 4 months ago, one of my friends um, was contacted by uh, an entrepreneur in Texas, Gallant Dill, who is from In-Store Connections, and he mentioned he saw my friend's Amazon videos. He sells products on Amazon, and said you could turn this into a business by helping other people with their product listing and sales maximization. And so we were actually doing our own entrepreneurial mastermind at that time. Uh, and he mentioned that, and I was really intrigued by that. And there's four of us that decided to start the company Sellers Arena, which helps with Amazon product listing, branding, search engine optimization, and reviews, and things like that. So, and we just got our first big customer last week, I think it is. So we're actually, and we didn't spend that much money on the startup, which is awesome. That's like one of the great things about service companies is the startup is like minimal. Like almost anyone could do a basic service company. You could do it for under $1,000, honestly, depending on what specific business it is.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we built up the website. It looks great, and yeah, we're pretty much already positive within 3 months, which is, I mean, some businesses it takes years and years, and some finish like in huge amounts of debt. So that's a really positive thing, and we definitely think we're gonna have continued success. It's tough finding new clients. It's really a numbers game, and you can't be afraid of rejection. You're going to get that a lot. Um, but you just send out, 10, 20 emails a day, and eventually you kind of get the feedback from people, and most people don't even reply. You get feedback, you see what their biggest arguments or concerns are, and then you work on that. And the thing we're having the best success with now is we're tailoring a presentation for each individual customer, like a strategy, placement strategy, and everything like that. And we're having a lot of great success with that. So, and I guess this would also apply is I recently started. Uh, I've always been into fitness and things like that, and I recently started uh, personal training, and I just have one client for now. She agreed to be my reference. It's just something I really enjoy and have passionate for, and it gets me away from my day job, which I'm now at a different company rather than Honda. But still, I really despise working a 9 to 5, working in a cube and working for someone else. I really That's really what led me into entrepreneurship. Rather, along with the tax benefits, is having that freedom to work for yourself and retire at a younger age. So the physical training is going great, and we'll see where that goes. I don't know if I could make a full-time ordeal out of it, but it is nice to start off your morning with workout and help others. So yeah, I guess that's my story.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's a great story.
Thank
Um,
you.
Now, I kind of want to touch on a few things that you
Sure.
talked about. So, you said that you were an electrical engineer by degree. Um,
Yes.
how do you think that that's helped you in your entrepreneurial pursuits so far?
Um, you have to be pretty detail oriented, problem solving skills. Um, but honestly, like I don't think it's helped that much. Um, I'm good with numbers, which has helped a little bit, but honestly, I feel like most things that have helped me are are external to any schooling I've ever had, and I feel like you'll hear a lot of entrepreneurials, like our mentor Gallant Dill. He's a high school dropout, and you'll hear a lot of other people who dropped out of college and things like that. Those are a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs. Um, so it's minimal, to be honest.
And so, instead of formal schooling, which again, I don't think either of us are knocking.
No,
I just kind of wanted to bring to light that despite what you have learned in school, you can be an entrepreneur. Um,
absolutely.
but as far as learning, because you still have to learn, you still have to figure out what you're doing.
Right.
What would you point to as some of the best resources to learn from?
So definitely try and find a mentor. It's good to find a local one. Um, there, there's so many resources right now. There are a ton of YouTube videos. There, get on Facebook and just start looking for different groups, um, local groups. Whatever you really find out what you're passionate about first, and then find someone who's successful at that, and those are the people that you want to hang out with. Grant Cardone has his own business university now. A lot of people are coming out with alternative to the traditional universities. So there's just so many resources out there. You just have to do a little bit of looking. But I think having a successful mentor is probably the most important thing as a resource.
Right. And of course, they could always go to you in Sellers Arena and get a little bit more information.
Absolutely, I would be more than willing to help anyone out if I can. Absolutely.
So maybe you could kind of touch a little bit on kind of the purpose of Sellers Arena and how you can really provide value to your customers.
Absolutely. So we provide like an A class listing. You'll see some products on Amazon that don't have very good pictures, don't have very good descriptions. There's something called a BSR, which is best sellers rating, and you want to maximize that. That's what gets you to like the front. Really, the goal is to be on the front page of your product search. And so let's say you have a supplement for a specific purpose. You want to get to the top of the first page because your your um your product sales are going to drastically drop down after the second page, depending on the product. Some of the more popular ones you might still do okay, but honestly, you want to get to the front page, and the higher up on the front page, of course, the better. Like top five, you're going to see the top five, and then after that, really people look at reviews and everything. The good thing about Amazon is you can charge a little bit more. Like people don't go to Amazon for the price anymore; they go there for the convenience, and then they look at is what's it's quick, easy, and then they'll look at the reviews. So you want to maximize your reviews. You can contest certain reviews, um, so that can bump up your rating. You want to keep all fours and fives, mostly fives. So um, yeah, just a great product. Logos, branding. You want it to look sharp, catch the eye. You want your brand to um, really represent what you're offering and stick out from the competition. Speaking of competition, we also monitor competitors and what they're doing. So if someone's sales are dropping off, that'd be a perfect time to implement a strategy and bump your product listing above theirs. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's great, and I encourage people to reach out to you and try to see if you guys can form some sort of partnership. But
Absolutely.
but I want to jump back a little bit, and it might be a little sensitive area, but I think that the learning potential is huge. Um, could you maybe talk about um, you had your rise when you were doing the stock market stuff, and then you had an unfortunate event happen. But could you talk about how you dealt with that setback and how you continued your entrepreneurial journey um, despite that circumstance?
Sure. So yeah, I got really lucky. I was doing a lot of research, and in stocks, that's really important. Um, Unfortunately, the only thing I kind of miscalculated was my timing. My timing was as bad as can be. Um, yeah, when it started happening, it was I feel like it's kind of the success kind of took over, and I felt almost invincible. So even when it did start to drop, like it was over a 5 day period and it was drop, drop, drop. I had so many opportunities to bail out, but I was like, oh, it's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce back. And um, just having that much success so quick, I feel like I didn't know how to handle it. Like I could have bailed out with, 6 figures, and that's crazy in a year, less than a year really to make. Um, in just investing. So yeah, it was very depressing. It felt like like a breakup or a loss or something, a huge loss. That's exactly what it was like, and it like just felt like all the wind was blown out of your sails. And I've dealt with similar situations and feelings before, so I kind of knew how to handle it already. I could sit there and wallow, or I could do everything in my power to get back to where I was. And I knew that I had gotten there at one point. I could get back, and I'm going to use this as a learning opportunity, learning experience, learning opportunity, and grow from it. And that's the best way to handle any sort of loss or anything like that, is to treat it as a learning opportunity. Don't take it personal. Don't identify and think you're a loser or something like that, because it happens to everyone. The only people who don't make mistakes are people who don't try. So yeah, just it was so tough. The drone business, then after I couldn't self fund it, and my brother still had some financial troubles too. So we went to a bank to try and find funding, and it's almost impossible to get funding for a startup from a bank. And so we just kept pressing on. I was able to buy a Phantom 3 Pro, which was a little over $1,000. I was able to scrounge enough money up for that, and we were able to use that at the conference. And I feel like that kind of helped bring some credibility and the wow factor kind of to the, because everyone there were a bunch of farmers and everything like that. So this is all new and exciting things to them that they're just finding out about, and so that definitely helped. But yeah, I just kept going. I didn't stop. There were some days that I needed to take breaks and get myself together, but and that's fine. That it's perfectly okay to take a break. We all need that, but just continue going, and it's not always going to be easy. You don't want it to be easy, because if it was, someone else is going to be doing it already and not getting much money. So
and
yeah,
I really do appreciate your honesty and your transparency. I think a lot of people can really learn from that. And just to kind of reiterate what you were saying, nothing is a failure unless it causes you to stop, or unless you let it stop you. I mean,
absolutely.
if you just take it as a learning experience, like you said, and just keep going, just keep plugging along. I mean, you got there once. I have no doubt in my mind you're going to do it again. You have no doubt in your mind that you're going to do it again. And you know
Right,
what? The fact that you made that mistake so early on, that's going to pay back dividends later on. I mean,
absolutely.
imagine if instead of 6 figures, it was 7 figures, right?
Yes,
That would have been a little
absolutely.
harder to get over, you
Oh
know.
my gosh. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, it
yeah,
would have been nice if it was 4 or 5 figures, but hey, yeah, sometimes you need it to be bigger, because then the lesson is going to stick with you that much more. So I feel like I feel like the lesson was appropriate for me.
right, right. So you've talked a lot about what you've been doing, your past, these learning opportunities, and you talked a little bit about mentors and how important they were. But could you maybe go in a little bit more about who has been the most impactful mentor in your life?
Um, Jeez. I guess it would be two main people. One is I have a coworker who he owns a lot of land in the Amazon rainforest, and he kind of trades that as a commodity. He's like one of the sharpest people I know, and just he's like he has like seven kids or something like that. Several are adopted, and he's just like go 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 all the time. His kids are homeschooled. His wife does that. By the age of like 8 or 10, they have their scuba diving licenses. Then they get their pilot's license, driver's license. His oldest daughter is like 18. She's about to start her first business. He just he just goes. It's almost like he's a machine or something, but he's crazy, and he just kind of more inspired me. He gave me a little few hints and things like that, but it was more inspiring than anything else to see him go. And then Gallant Dill, I had mentioned, helped out with Sellers Arena. Um, yeah, he's done really well, really well. I think he's coming out with he just came out with a course too, so that might be some resource people would want to look into. And yeah, he just helped us from like A to Z with the business, helping us get our website set up, helping us with leads, um, how to handle resistance, things like that. So yeah.
That's awesome. So, we talked a little bit about your past. We talked about kind of what you're doing right now. But what would you say would be the one biggest thing that you have to do, you have to accomplish in your lifetime?
Me personally,
Yes.
um, so like from an entrepreneurial point, it would be to have financial freedom, passive income, and I would like that to be $10,000 a month. That's kind of the goal. Anything more than that, I think once I get to that point, I could definitely make more, but that's like the bare minimum I want, and that would give me the freedom I want to pretty much do uh, whatever, travel. Um, I eventually want to have a family, um, and would like to spend time with them, not be stressed out with the day job. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's a good goal. Is freedom, and
Yeah.
I think it's one that a lot of entrepreneurs share.
Yes.
They're tired of that grind. They're tired of that day to day. But for people who they're working at their job, and they might be um, discontented, or they might not find what they're doing fulfilling. Could you maybe give some insight into how you kind of took that leap, and when you said like enough is enough, I'm going out on my own, I'm being an entrepreneur?
Right. So, I mean, I'm still working my day job and everything, and I'm going to have to until the businesses are doing a little bit better. But it was just really my inspiration was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. Actually, actually listened to the audio book on a trip, and my girlfriend at the time fell asleep, and I was so inspired by it. I made her watch again, and she just hated me so much for it. She didn't really understand what I was trying to teach at the time, but um, yeah, it was just like the tax benefits, and so many benefits. Working for yourself, and then it was just like finding. I never thought I would have my own business ever. Like even a couple months before I finally did. Um, I had no clue how to start a business. We kind of struggled through it a little bit, but it's not as difficult as it seems. You can go through like LegalZoom and other lawyer services. It's not that difficult to set up. And then you want to research whether you want an S corp or C corp. You usually want one or the other because those have the best tax benefits rather than an LLC. Um, yeah, and just reading that article, it hit me like this is my opportunity, this is my chance. I need to jump on it quick before other people come into the sector, and yeah,
And I think you really brought up a good point when you were saying you didn't really know how, you didn't think you could do it until you did it, and you just kind of jumped in there and you tried it,
yeah,
and it's not as hard as you think it is. I
right,
mean, yeah, it's a little bit of legal work to figure out whether you want, an LLC, escrow, what you're saying, but
right,
the essence of starting a business is, are you willing to do it? Are you
right.
willing to put in the time to understand what it is that you need to do and then do it? And I think a lot of that is your mindset, is how you approach the problem, how you approach the situation. So could you maybe give some insight on the type of mindset that you think an entrepreneur needs to have to be successful?
So I think this is the most important part, and I'm really glad you brought this up. This is the most important thing: is the proper mindset. Um, see the mindset and the motivation is what is going to drive you to action, um, and actions are what are going to drive your results. So a lot of people might say it's just results, some people might say it's actions, but it's to really get to the core, it's what motivates you. You need that motivation because you're going to come into days where you just want to quit so bad, and if you don't have that motivation to keep you going, you're not going to succeed. So you need that motivation, that mindset. Uh, what really are you working for? How much does it mean to you? Um, and that'll drive your actions. Like, sometimes you'll get into ruts. I find that I get into ruts often where I'm not putting forth that effort or whatever, and I have to like my day job is really what drives me because I'm like, man, this has been a crappy day, and that just um, leads me to be that much more motivated and really take businesses up to the next step.
Right, right. And um, you know that motivation, that thing that drives you. I think the word for that is purpose. Um, and in order to have the right mindset, I think it's important that you kind of figure out your purpose first. You have to figure
Absolutely.
out, like you were saying, you wanted the freedom. Well, if you don't have the end goal, if you don't have the freedom in mind, then you're not going to be able to figure out the steps that you need to take to achieve that freedom. And so you got to get the big goal. Jim Collins, he's the author of Good to Great. He always says that everybody needs a BHAG, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's true. It's true. You got to have something huge that you're going for.
Right.
Um, I mean, it doesn't even matter what it is, as long as it's not something evil. If it's noble and just, it almost doesn't matter what it is, as long as it gives you inspiration and it drives you to action. And I think what you said was absolutely correct. I mean, it all starts with the mindset.
Right.
Um, but oh
Another
yeah.
good book is if you heard of it, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That is such a great book. It will not only help you in your entrepreneurial life, it'll help you in your personal life, and um, it's really just changed my life really. And having a positive outlook, even in bad situations, you're able to kind of take a step back and realize what's actually going on. It's not really you. It's your negative thoughts and everything that are trying to control certain situations. And you take a step back and you realize it's not really that bad. Everything's going to be okay. And really to get to your life purpose. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that book too because it will not only be great for entrepreneurs but everybody just in your everyday life. So
Right, and I feel like a lot of these books, a lot of these like personal development, self help type books, they're not necessarily meant for entrepreneurs or for business, um, because they can really be applied to so many different things. Because success is success. I mean, it's measured in different ways depending on how you want to measure it, but you kind of know it when you see it. Um,
Sure.
and so all those different keys to success and everything, they kind of they're connected. And if you're successful in one thing and you really have a good mindset and you understand how to accomplish something from start to finish, then going to the next thing and the next thing isn't so hard. I mean, you were just saying how in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey you had no idea what you were doing. Like you didn't know how to do it. You didn't know you could start a business. Well, now you've started like three, and
Right.
like Sellers Arena, the drones, and the personal training. I mean,
Right.
those are three distinct businesses. So, I
Right.
mean, it's
And I
it's
have a couple more ideas too. I just want to develop these ones first before I, like, clothing design is something I'm interested in. A restaurant idea I have, and a nightclub idea. So, yeah, I mean, after you start though, it's like the possibilities are endless because you just like, wow, this isn't that bad. I could do all these things, but you also want to not overextend yourself. Sometimes you can be over motivated, over ambitious. So you want to make sure that you're taking proper steps. You're going through the process and building up one or two businesses at a time, not having five and then they all fail. So yeah, I have a lot more things I want to work on, but need to concentrate on these first few things, and then we'll see.
that's really good advice, and I'm glad you brought that up. But if you could jumping back to your life, if you could maybe point to um, one piece of advice that would serve as your legacy moving forward, what would that one piece of advice be?
Hmm. Seems like a lot, but I guess the first thing that jumps up out to me would be don't let failure make you stop. Don't ever stop. If it's something you really want to do, nothing is going to make you stop. So don't let a little and you're going to look back at your failures and be like, wow, that was. I'm going to look back in a couple years and be like, $100,000, whatever, you know. So yeah, I mean, just learn from it and grow from it. Grow from everything. Your failures, your successes, and but also you need to find balance in your life. There'll be sometimes I'm like I kind of get in a zone and forget about happiness and other things, and I'll be working too hard and forget about relationships and things like that. So you also need to maybe take time out for yourself and make sure that you're taking care of your mental health and spiritual health too, because you can honestly get in a really really bad negative rut. Even though you're building the businesses and everything like that, you need to have balance in your life. It's not always just about how much money can I make. It's about really finding happiness. So you need that balance.
That's great, and I really do appreciate your insight. Um, so I guess I just have one more question for you,
Okay.
and that is there anything about yourself that you feel is an important part of who you are that I did not ask you about today? In other words, what did I miss?
Um, I'd say it's my willingness to help out others. I think that's what my ultimate goal is. Exactly how I'm going to do that, I've thrown around a couple ideas, but um, I feel like I've uh, I've had so many failures in my life, but have turned a tragedy into a triumph so many times that maybe I want to work with like homeless people, prisoners, things like that, and turn their lives around. Because I still think like although they might be messed up, we can all be messed up at times, and they just have to find the right direction how to utilize their energy. Not everyone is meant to live identically. Like we're not all 9 to 5. Entrepreneurs understand that best. It's just, prisoners might not fit into this societal norm. They they just have different needs and different abilities, and finding the right direction to and utilize what they have to give them their purpose. Um, I think I would like to do that maybe, but yeah, that helping others is really important to me and giving back. I do on top of everything else, I usually do volunteer tutoring on Thursdays at a local library. It's like grades K through 12, and that's just a little something I like to do to give back, and that's really important to me. So yeah.
And not only are you giving back, but I truly think that that speaks to your character. That despite all of this stuff you're doing, all the businesses and all these goals and aspirations, you're still taking time out of your busy schedule to help out kids. I mean, to help out people and little people who need help. And
Right.
so I really think that that speaks highly of you as a person.
Thank you.
Um, but thank you again for jumping on the interview today. If people want to reach out to you or get in touch with you, what do you think would be the best way for them to do that?
You can email me. Let's see, the best email would be dan@sellersarena.com.
All right, fantastic.
And yeah, I'll be more than willing to, if I can't personally help you, I'm pretty confident I can at least point you to someone who can. So don't be afraid to ask.
That's
More than
fantastic.
willing to help. Yep.
Well, again, Dan, thank you very much for jumping on today, and thank you to everybody who's listening. This has been another Project Egg interview. Today we've been talking to Dan Davidson from Marion, Ohio. Thank you very much.
Good luck, everyone.